Hello and good evening. Thank you very much for joining us this evening for Majority Caucus. My name is Ali Dawood, and once again you are welcome to the show. Today we would narrow the issues down to the major campaign issues or campaign policies made, whether it is one dam, one district, or one factory, one district, or one teacher, one student, or one doctor, one patient. We will tell you whether or not it's feasible. But before I introduce my guest, I have a slight worry about the current happenings within our political arena. Let me start with Nana Akufo-Addo. The problem I have is very simple. He had the opportunity on the campaign platform to present alternative policies to that of government, policies that you would imagine if you're an electorate, so that you be convinced or be persuaded by to influence the decisions you make on 7th of December. But we had the unfortunate situation of listening to comments like Nana Akufo-Addo alleged on that campaign platform that he was accused of being a drug addict, but it did not work. He also said he was accused of being a murderer, and he did not work. He further went on to say he was accused of being a dictator, and it didn't work. Now he's been accused of having cancer. It won't work. I do not remember anybody, at least from NDC, accusing Nanado of being a murderer, nor anybody accusing him of being a drug addict. But let's take them one after the other. As for accusations of he being a murderer, I do not know about that, but this is what I know, that a member of parliament belonging to Nana Akufo-Addo's party, of which Nana Akufo-Addo is the leader, threatened violence and mayhem on people of Ghan descent, northern descent. And the description per Afoko is that Nana Akufo-Addo described him as a gem. No condemnation was issued to this barbaric comment against Kennedy Japan, who is a member of parliament. So Nana Akufo-Addo, you've not been accused of murder, but perhaps if the accusation would have come, it will be worse than that. A leader who will superintend over comments like this with no single sentence of condemnation begs the question. As for whether or not Nana Akufo-Addo has been accused of being a drug addict, I do not know anybody in the NDC who has said that. But the fact still remains that the WikiLeaks reports, comments reported to have been made by Pamela Bridgewater, who was then the US ambassador in Ghana. Exactly. She made this comment in the WikiLeaks report, one of the cables, that there is evidence to suggest perhaps he may be engaging in such illicit acts. This is coming from her, not NDC. What NDC did was merely to reiterate the facts as they were presented with. I remember sections of that report also captured Kwesi Pratt making similar comments. The infamous whistle kusum billowing, smoke billowing in the air. I mean, along many of such lines. Yeah, thick cloud of smoke. But these are facts as contained in the WikiLeaks reports. Ali Dawood is not the one saying it. NDC is not the one saying it. But listen to what Akufo-Addo is saying. Let me just take the dictator one. The last one, let me say a dictator. Of course, President Mahama, that we can attest to that, called him a dictator based on credible facts, incontrovertible, all of them. A political leader or a political party's leader who will sit for one of his regional chairmen to be drenched in acid and subsequently lead to his death, that is a problem. If this does not qualify the leader to be a dictator, I don't know what else could. A leader who, upon the election of his national executives, would openly say As for these people, we cannot work with them. And subsequent to that, we saw steps, acts, machination put in place to see to the eviction, or if you like, suspension of these national executives. It is only under the reign of Nana Akufo-Addo that we've seen even party members in Scotland, in Belgium, in Bulgaria of MPP being suspended merely because they had or they have expressed dissenting views. If does not qualify you to be a dictator, I don't know what else will be. As for the mayhem, the violence, the killing of party members in Asawasi, Antifati wielding machetes at the party headquarters, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. On every account, there is evidence to suggest that all this attribution to Nana Akufo-Addo merits some credibility. But listen to how Akufo-Addo responded to all the so-called accusations. He said, I've been accused of this, but it won't work. I've been accused of that, but it won't work. He never said it is not true.
It has not worked.
Yeah. He never said it is not true. He never denied it. Having presented you with this finest opportunity to, for the first time in your political career, say that I am not a drug addict. He wasted the opportunity. In my view, if you think the accusations were not true, if you think the WikiLeaks reports were not true, condemn them. You had yet the finest opportunity. Once again, predictable of Akufo-Addo, he failed. I am unable to be convinced by any other comment coming from him that these allegations are of no substance based on his own conduct. So listen to him. He said it won't work. Not that it is not true or it is true, but it won't work. He's a lawyer, so you should know his words are carefully chosen, at least for the records that pertains. I would describe him as a lawyer. He carefully chose his responses. It won't work. Not that it is not true, it won't work. But is it true that it didn't work? Because believe me, leadership qualities and values that Ghanaian traditional society attach to their political leaders also goes to inform how they elect their leaders. For Akufo-Addo to have lost 12 successive national elections, he cannot convince anybody that it did not work. It worked. Until he purges himself of all these accusations, I strongly believe it will go a long way, or if you like forever, to taint his political credibility. Well, as for what Professor Marty said, I will leave that to my guests. I do not want to take all their time. But suffices to add that for a pastor, Professor Marty, first of all, believe me, he's an elderly person. He's qualified to be my dad. So I am not going to be personal at all, as I won't be personal with Nana Akufo-Addo, except to attack the credibility, the genuineness or otherwise of his statement or allegations. Any pastor or a man of God who claims an attempted bribery action or an attempted bribe has been extended to him and he fails to report the such person, that is a problem to me. It's really a problem to me. And the interesting thing is that Professor Mate seems to have problem even with the pardoning of the Muntie. He has a problem with it. He sought to give a very strange interpretation to the phenomenon of Pokpo Gligli. And to him, it's a violent shaking of the body, and therefore they do not merit pardon. I have some news for you, Professor Mate. Professor Mate, the Pope's assassin has even been forgiven. He has been pardoned. The Pope's assassin, or attempted assassin, or will-be assassin, was even pardoned. Not people suffering from Pokpo Gligli. We will go for a quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests and the discussion will take start. Stay with me. Hello and welcome back to the show. If you just tune in your TV, well, you are watching Majority Caucus. My name is Ali Dawood, and the issue on board tonight is the major political campaign issues, or if you like, policies. And to help me do justice to this topic in the studio tonight, I have been joined in the studio by Mr. Razak Abu, who is the convener for Research and Advocacy Platform. He's been here before, so he's not a virgin guest. And with him, I'm sure that you will be informed. Also in the studio is one of our regular panelists, is lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, who also happens to be the Greater Accra Regional Deputy Youth Organizer. Except that, Council, you've been going for meeting. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, lawyer. Lawyer, you've heard the campaign policies, but we would do well to mix them with what Professor Mate and Co said, because all goes to talk about credibility of the qualities of our leaders. What is your initial thought about this campaign policies? Somebody says one district, one factory, whether or not is tenable.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I strongly believe that anything that a politician promises one way or the other, they said when a politician promises you that he is going to turn a man into a woman, there is a greater likelihood that he can do that. It's just a matter of passing law to say today all women should be called men.
That's all.
And that should be possible, even if physically they are still women. And that is how I want to do this analysis relative to the promises that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has so far put across. First of all, Nana has indicated, for instance, that they intend creating a new region called the Western North for the people in Seshi areas in the Western region. I have also indicated that it appears, with respect to him, that whereas it is possible that the people there possibly want a district or a region, what is also the case, which we should not forget, is the fact that as many of these people really in fact want development and not region per se. Because if you recall, we had created Upper East, Upper West from the northern region. But respectfully, the creation of these two regions did not necessarily up their development. What it also means is that if the people in fact want development, then there's a better way of ensuring that they have enough development than just creating a region. Because when you create a region, you are not going to give that particular region any more resources than you do to the other regions. So that just the creation of it does not ensure that it becomes better. Because the evidence historically is that a new region or two new regions were created, Upper East, Upper West, but did not solve their developmental problem. However, you can create a special purpose vehicle like SADA, which addresses specific infrastructure needs of that people. By so doing, you would have resolved their developmental problem by way of social amenities, social infrastructure, without necessarily creating a region. So, whereas the people may be asking for it, it is for you to do a proper diagnosis of the fundamentals of what the problem is. Like I told you, if somebody comes to you as a medical doctor with headache, you just don't straightforward go ahead and prescribe paracetamol to the person. It may well be that the headache is as a result of constipation. So that by helping him to free his bowels, you end up resolving the headache problem. So that if development is their problem, you can solve the developmental problem without having to go through this channel. But more importantly, is the question of giving one constituency $1 million
Ghana cedis.
I mean, I understand it's a dollar.
It's even in dollars.
In dollars. Look, my constituency where I live, Dome Kwabenya. Today, as we speak, President Mahama is building a community-day secondary school just around the Atomic police station. That project alone is more than $1 million. You get my point? It's more than $1 million. As we speak, from St. John's, right through Dome Market, through the railway, right to Atomic, the Medina side of Atomic, through Hachu, all the roads there have been asphalted. That project will obviously be more than $1 million.
Indeed.
So you will see that just 2 projects have swallowed that $1 million promise. 2. If you add $1 million down plus 275, we come back to close to $275 million. Regrettably, we are not told the source of funding. We have a situation where today, as we speak, the NPP says when they come, they'll take away taxes. They have accused the Mahama administration of reckless borrowing. It means they won't borrow.
Yes.
So they will reduce taxes. They won't borrow. So where are they going to raise funds to do all this? Either they are going to increase taxes to cater for this or borrow to do this. You cannot do one and leave the other. It's also important to make this point. Today, as we speak, President John Dramani Mahama, the Green Book that the NPP, the NDC put out there, the Mahama administration is achievement. In fact, today President Mahama is arguably referred to as the infrastructure maestro. Huge infrastructure project, life-changing, game-changing infrastructure project. That is what President John Dramani Mahama is doing. He is not looking at and say, no, he is solid on infrastructure. So, and he believed that, look, a country like Ghana, where already we have, annually, according to the World Bank, we need to be investing close to $3 billion annually to meet the infrastructure gap that has been created over a long period of time. What it tells you is that today, as we speak, anytime you buy a scratch card, anytime you pay value-added taxation, 2.5% goes into what President Mahama created, what is known as the Ghana Infrastructure Fund. That fund specifically deals with infrastructure. Do you know that when the NDC came out with Get Fund, okay, which was anchored on value added, the NPP went on demonstration, Kumi Prekun. Incidentally, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo led that Kumi Prekun thing. Do you know that out of that we have Ghana Education Trust Fund, Get Fund? See the number of schools. The schools under trees were all financed through Get Fund.
Scholarships.
That's what a visionary leader, that's Jerry Rawlings.
Yes. And the scholarships given.
The scholarships given to many of our people. Then today Mahama said, and you know that even NHIS, almost 83% funding of NHIS come from value-added taxation, visionary leaders. Today, 2.5% of that is going into Ghana Infrastructure Fund because the president believes that infrastructure is the only way. And I'll explain to you quickly. Do you know that in a typical community, farming community, the people go to farm, they simply need a feeder road to be able to chart their goods to the main center for the purposes of marketing, to reduce post-harvest losses. If their roads are bad, they can't do that. That is the focus of it. So you don't need 1 million per constituency to resolve the development of. In fact, what you do critically is that in some constituencies, they will require more than 1 million. So a blanket statement like 1 million per constituency clearly tells you that it's not a well thought out program. On the vast issue of 1 dam per village, I have been told that when Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo got to Bolga, somebody whispered, one of his aides whispered into his ears that the people say they want a dam. So there he said, oh, this part of the region, when I come, I will do 1 dam per village. Obviously not well thought out. So quickly, his press men will now have to come out, his aides, Mustafa Hamid, the minority spokesperson on our Greek, Dr. Akoto. Yes, the MP for Kwadaso, I suppose. All of these people now had to come out to say that no, what Nana Addo in fact meant is that the dam here means The dam here means dugouts or boreholes. That is what Nanado means by the one dam per. Let me tell you something. You know the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, SADA. SADA has done extensive work in the area of irrigation. Because the president believes that the three northern regions going forward must be the bread basket of this country. Now the research is in two folds: livestock and regular food crops. Look, you know Nasia from Wale Wale going, Nasia. Nasia is noted for rice, and there's a massive rice irrigation project in Nasia. In fact, if you leave the Tamale airport from Pont Tamale to Sablugu, that area, they have one. Today, as we speak, if you go to Yendi, so they have a big dam there. Just recently, just July 12, 2016, President Mahama at Garo Tempani, particularly in Tamni, he cut the sword for the construction of a dam. And that dam is not a borehole. That dam alone is going to create jobs for over 5,000 farmers. 5,000 farmers. And you know what? That project is going to irrigate close to 2,000 hectares of land. That's the kind of vision President Mahama has. It's not one village. No. What SADA did and what the investigation realized is that looking at the topology, the geography of the north, it is not every community that you should have a dam. Because the water level, the water table dynamics, and all of those things will play out. So what you do, as SADA investigation has shown, is that the investigation showed is that you must cluster communities so that you can have 4 communities around one dam. So all the farming activities will happen around the dam. Okay. Then that's the large ones. Then you have the medium dams. From SADA investigation, the large dams, you only need about 23 in the whole of the north. The medium ones, you need about 30 to 45. Then the smaller household ones. That is research. It's not about going on campaign, then somebody quickly tells you, oh, Nana, can you do this for me? Then quickly you have to. What it does is that it exposes you. So you notice that it has to take his spokespersons now to begin to refine the so-called policy. As we speak, what Nanado is saying, President Mahama is doing it with a bigger vision. Today, as we speak, there's what is called the Ghana Agricultural Support Fund, GASIP. Now, what that GASIP does, okay, is that it seeks to do agri in a broader, bigger vision. What is called the Farmer Services Centers. So, at the end of the day, what you'll be seeing is that in a community, you have a farmer service center where you can get your fertilizer, you can get people, if your tractor is down, you can go out there and have that tractor service. And more importantly, the question of value addition. The question of value addition. So that you just don't crop, but within, if it's about tomatoes, you are looking at the tomatoes value chain. What other value added intervention can you put before it gets to Accra? That is the kind of vision President Mahama is putting across. So today, if you move from Tamale Airport right to Bolga, from Bolga to Navrongo, you see several of these. Most of these today, as we speak, are being rehabilitated to make cropping better for our people. But there's a peculiar problem with the north. Rainfall. How are you going to get water into the dams? If you know, the Burkina Faso Bagri Dam, around this time, it is spilled over. That's a source of water for the various dams. For harvesting. But that one, it has its own limitation because it cannot last you the whole year. it can, by the time you get to January, February, March, it begins to dry out again. So you need to really think deep about this and not impulsive. Where you go and people say, I want it, then quickly say, Nana, I will do this for you. No. Sit down with the people.
And it's usually when he goes and the people,
exactly.
Like the Commander Sugar Factory, then he promise one factory, one district.
Exactly.
He goes to the north, the Sada Dam, then he promise another one.
Absolutely. Because obviously Nanado heard
like you said,
of what the president is doing at Tamni. That irrigation project is big. Today as we speak, in the Volta region, North Tong, where the Aveyime rice project is it not surprising that on the base of Aveyime, some of our senior comrades were in prison. But today the project is working. How could you have said financial loss was occasion when today the project is still working? That is what politics can do. Today as we speak, if you go to Ziope in the Volta region, there is a place called Keyime. That Keyime area, government is rehabilitating a dam there. And do you know what it's going to do? Okra, tomato farming. And the beautiful thing is that we have what is called the Ghana Green Label Scheme. So the kind where you crop the thing, you put the label. Because what we have also noticed is that today you are not able to export most of our agricultural produce because there is a certain European Union ban on some of these things. So you want these crops to be grown at very good places so that the label can reflect that this one is coming from the north. This is the conditions under which they were grown to encourage more of our people. That is the only way you can alleviate poverty among our people. President John Dramani Mahama has started it. He is doing it with a bigger vision. It's not just an impulsive, when you go and see Commander Sugar Factory, immediately you must promise one factory. Look, if you go to Trifo Praso, Atimokwa, you will see Bimpoija and the villages there. They have been growing, you know the Trifo palm plantation. It has been there since whatever. All the people there, one way or the other, they have these their rural ways of using their palm kernel, the palm fruit and others to get the oil that we use in Accra. When I was growing up in Nkwanta, Gari processing has always been with our people without any intervention called one district, one factory. So I think that Nanado, with respect, Ghanaian voters are discerning. He should just give them the benefit of the doubt that, oh, you know, these people are discerning. And, they can read between.
And even credit them with some intelligence.
To say that, oh no, these people cannot even make heads of. No, with respect to him. I think that we should take Ghanaian voters a bit more serious about it.
Read in between the lines. Thank you very much, Senior Counsel Edoji. But we go for a quick break. When we come back, Razak Abu would have his bites on this political cherry. Stay with me. And welcome back to the show. You are still watching Majority Caucus, and it's live on your multi-TV. Earlier in my introductory remarks, I indicated that amongst many other things, Akufo-Addo claimed that he's been accused of having cancer. But let me put it on record. The NDC does not take pleasure in discussing people's health and making it a political campaign issue. Not at all. At least, if for nothing at all, the NDC had the benefit of hindsight. The late President Mills, we know what happened, and we know what the MPP did. All sort of spurious allegations, unfortunate remarks leveled against the person of the late President Mills because they imagined or they had cause to believe that he was sick. And so it is not in the nature of NDC to discuss people's private health issues, not at all. It's absolutely not NDC's campaign strategy. But what we also need to make sure we do, especially as men, young men, research has indicated that from 40 years and above, you run the risk of suffering from prostate cancer. And so we need to be very careful in what we do as young men before we hit the age of 40. And it is very important that everybody becomes very careful of your activities. And it is in this spirit that I make references to the African Watch magazine of August 2016 edition, which states, amongst many other things, the health status of Nana Akufo-Addo. But this is the interesting twist, the detailed, the specifics, the leading questions or statement, the definite statement as captured in the report can only come from a closer source within the camp of Nana Akufo-Addo. It will be very, very unfortunate. It will be very strange. In fact, you ought to be a magician, or better still, the NDC ought to be credited with an extraordinary telepathic, powers or abilities to be able to get this information, because it is a private matter, like we indicated. Nobody's private issues ought to be discussed within a political platform, but it has become necessary to set the record straight that this did not come from NDC. It came from African Watch magazine. For good reasons, I can't show you the cover, by the 2016 August edition. Let me just read sections of it. At page 15 of the said magazine, it says Nana Akufo-Addo was diagnosed with prostate cancer in June 2013 with a very high prostate specific antigen PSA count of 89.9, very much above the 3.72 upper range that it should have been, according to his British doctors. Listen to this one. It says the presidential candidate of Ghana's opposition New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the man who has yearned all his life to become the president of the country, is suffering from life-threatening diseases, including prostate cancer, acute kidney injury, and an enlarged heart, all of which have serious implications for his political career. It's an African Watch has seen some of his medical records, and they paint a dark picture. In this special report, Steve Mallory, who, by the way, was one of Nana Akufo-Addo, the editor of this magazine, the editor, Steve Mallory, once upon a time was Nana Akufo-Addo's, one of his coordinators in the UK, right? It was like, I think in the UK, he was one of his coordinators. So if anything at all, the editor of this magazine ought to be sympathetic.
Friends of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Exactly, Friends of Nana Akufo-Addo. He was the coordinator. This editor ought to have been sympathetic to Akufo-Addo. So it is most unfortunate, or if you like, the argument made that NDC are tagging him with cancer is most untenable, because it's coming from no other person than one of his own coordinators. I will not proceed further. Razak is in the studio. Whether or not we should discuss the health status of our will-be president, well, it's a debate that is still raging on, and I'm sure Razak has some interesting thought to share on that. Razak.
Thank you so much, Ali. Good evening to yourself and good evening to your listeners.
Good evening.
I want to begin with Reverend Professor Mate, his latest intervention, which has engulfed the nation as we speak. So, and I want to work on some assumptions, all right? So that if I'm dealing with what he has said, it will be seen in that light. You know, there's a tendency for people to come out and throw stones and run into the cover of either a family, a religion, or a sect, or a something. All right? They come out, throw the stone, and go and seek cover under those things. And such elements are dangerous for society. So from my understanding, all right, Reverend Mate is behaving like one of those dangerous elements who comes out, throw the stone, and then go under the cover of religion. So that when you are dealing with what he has said, it's as though you are dealing with the entire religion or you are dealing with the entire sect.
Exactly.
So for instance, what he's done now, and I've monitored comments on it, people have not been able to isolate him from the religion or from the sect, and which is Presbyterian.
It's a fundamental difficulty.
Yes. So because we have Presbyterians across the parties.
Yes.
We have Presbyterians in NDC, we have Presbyterians in MPP, we have Presbyterians in PPP, and all the parties. So what Reverend Marty has done is to invite insults, all right, presumably on Christians or on, that's why you have the Christians Council now coming in, because that is the way he wants to proceed. But I want to isolate him because, like you said, he can be referred to as our father.
Yes.
So he's supposed to be responsible for his statements.
Exactly.
So I want to proceed on the assumption that what Reverend Marty said represents his views.
Exactly.
And not the views of the Presbyterian community or even the Christian community.
No. No.
So if I'm tackling what he said, I don't want any Christian or any Presbyterian to say I'm tackling,
absolutely
fantastic.
Absolutely
so I want to get this thing properly, isolated so that I can deal with what he said. And, my understanding of him now, all right, he is an undiluted MPP member. Why? Because from all of his vituperations during his news conference, all right, I picked a certain line from it, which I wrote down. He said, babies with sharp teeth are stealing money.
It's a direct accusation.
One, this is reckless, all right? And two, he's inviting all of us to engage in a discussion that is completely meaningless.
Absolutely.
Who are babies with sharp teeth? It's cowardly. Name them.
Yes.
All right? It's cowardly. Name them. So and so are stealing. Or if you have evidence of their theft, report them to the police. Why do you put it out? As if you are on a MPP campaign platform. So that is why I am saying that he is an undiluted MPP person.
Yes.
And that's how I'm going to deal with him. And that's how I am going to assess him. So
do you know
it's separate
of
and
all
different
the
from
happenings within the MPP, the chasing of Afoku at the party headquarters, smuggled him through his car boot. Never has it seen it necessary to condemn it.
No. Exactly. And it fits into my next point. Because, I put it in 2 points. After having isolated him and now trying to deal with him, let's look at what he's done. I have a feeling that Reverend Marty is in the campaign strategy of the MPP. Either he attends their meetings or he's been used as a tool or an instrument to execute this. Why? Because, what we are having to talk about now comes immediately after the Africa Watch magazine publication. All right?
Yes.
You just said rightly, nobody makes the health of anybody
a
political decision or discussion. But this one is an African Watch magazine story.
Yes.
And it was just about to, form the basis for discussion in the country. All right? And then Reverend Marty came in with this blast.
Yes. So that attention will be focused on that.
So it was a master clear-cut calculation to divert all the discussion on the African Watch magazine to this one. And I like what a friend said, that yes, everybody has health issues.
Yes.
Everybody's dealing with one health issue or the other. But it's not all of us who are contesting for the president of Ghana.
Exactly.
So if somebody puts himself up to be awarded or to be elected, look, if you are going for a job appointment,
yes,
you go through checks and there's a medical form.
University admission.
Exactly.
We did medical tests.
Exactly.
Legon, we did medical tests.
And in our case, we are the employers. Every president is an employee of the people of Ghana. So he's coming to us for appointment. All right? So he's obliged to give us his medical record. I am not. I'm not standing for the president of Ghana. So I'm not obliged to give you my medical report. Unless you go somewhere and obtain it, that's your business. But he is obliged for us to know. As we speak, it's ongoing in the United States.
Yes, Hillary has made it public.
Yes. So the
Even
issue
Trump
of health
has
of the
made his
presidential, yes.
public.
So it was going to feed into that discussion. The health of the presidential candidate, falling in line with what the African Watch magazine put out.
Yes.
And then Reverend Marty came in with this master skillful political move.
A diversion.
Complete diversion. All right? And I took note of something. I just went to Ghana Web. That is just one site. Ghana Web. Out of the 36 headlines, I took note of them. Ali, you'll be surprised. Out of the 36 headlines, as at the time I was coming in, of Ghana Web, Reverend Marty alone had 50 headlines to himself.
Clearly,
and with your own indulgence, yes, I'll go through them.
Yeah,
it starts, Reverend Professor Marty, incorruptible, Presby Church. He forced the Presby Church to issue a statement. Number 2, Reverend Owusu Bempa defends Marty. Number 3, the church will not be what? Cowed by politicians. Christian Council. Rollins phobic constitution. Cause of winner takes all. Professor Marty. What do you mean by Rollins phobic constitution?
You don't understand.
Look at the words and the terminology he's using. So that's why I say he's an undiluted MPP. So I mean, for somebody to keep referring to him as, you know,
so the
talking for the church,
pretense must stop.
It has to be clear. It has to be clear. He should come into the game. Then we'll work with him, you know, in the political arena. But to just, you know, come under the cloak, you come out and throw the stone and run back for religious people to come and defend you. No, we should be clearly isolate all these things. Look at the next one. Prof. Marty's 100,000 bribe, V8, were disguised as birthday gift. That's another headline. Professor Marty influenced me to insult Asiedu Ketia, ex-president PRO. Another headline on him. Professor Marty denies taking 100,000 bribe. Another headline on him. I will face Professor Marty squarely. Koko Anyido. Reverend Marty must be interrogated over 100,000 bribe. Vitus Azim. The foolish talks foolishly. Kofi Adams responds to Professor Marty. Presby moderator wants electoral commission. Professor Marty got carried away. George Lawson. NDC dares Marty to name bribe givers. So this is the objective. Yes. To get attention, focus on him. So demon possessed Montier 3 needed deliverance. Professor Marty. Yes. Last one. Professor Marty lied about 100,000 bribe. Former Presby PRO. Okay. But that is just one website. 36 headlines, and he has 15 headlines to himself. 16 headlines to himself. So clearly, he was out for this job. Hatchet. We know these jobs are done by, you know, people who are very known in the political circles. Yes. You know, they categorize them. You have people who can undergo the most dirty years. But he has chosen to allow himself to be used for this. So there are either two ways. Either he himself is in the strategy room of the MPP, or he has allowed himself to be used as a tool or an instrument to execute this agenda. And now that he's back, he has brought himself into the political arena, we only can wish him welcome. All right? So that we'll know, now that we are dealing with him as a politician, all that needs to be said about the MPP's inability to win this election, you know, will be addressed same to him. Now, Ali, I want to move to the latest campaign promises by the MPP. And, you know, the MPP is in a deep crisis of promises. Why? Because, and their confusion is understandable. Okay. Because they have not been prepared for too long for power. Okay. For them, it has to be emotions, you know, let's work on people's sentiments. Let's see whether yes, is in the system, and he will give you exactly. You know, the Trump-like thing. Okay. You know, let's work on people's anger. Let's see those who are not informed. So let's go and lie to them. So when it started, you know, it began with the NDC has done nothing. Yes. So I graduated it. It began with the NDC has done nothing. So the NDC put together a comprehensive work of projects that have been delivered and projects that were ongoing, and put it together in a book and said, MPP, have it and check. In the name of the Green Book. And then they shifted the goalpost. They looked at the book, assessed it. Initially, their reaction was that these are Photoshop images. So the NDC went a step further. All right? And then took cameras to some of the places, covered them. All right. So the exposure was becoming too much. And then they said, okay, yes, we admit that you have projects, but how much is the cost?
Oh, you've inflated. They will even ask. They say you've inflated it.
So they escalated this costing to the level of the presidential candidate. He organized his own, what do you call it, real state of the nation address. All right. And during that session, he alleged, among other things, that the Rich Hospital project was what inflated by $142 million.
Okay.
All right. So the NDC came out and disputed that, look, your figures are not right. The MPP continued along those lines, cost, until one of their I can't call him spokesperson, but he largely speaks for them, Kweku Baku, said, and I quote, on this one is on my Joy Online. Okay. It says that Nana Akufo-Addo erred on Rich Hospital cost, Kweku Baku. Just let me read only the top. It says that editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Abdul Malik Kweku Baku, has said the flag bearer of the opposition New Patriotic Party got it wrong when he referred to the overrated cost of the Rich Hospital in his real state of the nation address. According to Mr. Baku, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo should have checked his facts before making the cost of Rich Hospital public, especially when Imani Ghana has published their research stating the issue of overpricing was above board. Ali, I hope we are monitoring.
Indeed, we are.
So the issue of the cost also was clearly dealt with. All right, and then they move to psychological games. Nana goes to a community and then he buys pure water. You don't drink pure water, sachet water. You don't drink it in your home.
No, he jumps into Carnation.
Yes,
we know. You
then
don't do
he
that.
got pure water, just to, because there has been the idea that he's not connected to the downtrodden. And you can't manufacture this. Some people are born with it. Because President Mahama, he naturally connects. So when he goes to the places, you can feel it. He naturally connects. So the downtrodden, they come closer, So these things were also coming up. So I don't know who advised Nana Akufo-Addo. Then he started trying to do it. When he goes to the communities, then he organize draft. Then, or he buy a pure water.
It's so not original.
Exactly. Then Dr. Baumia will go pound fufu and all that. So then the NDC came up again. I said, why are you ready for this election? It appears you don't have a message. All right? So it appears you don't have a message. Dr. Baumia went to Upper West, Tumu, and began a religious campaign.
Vote for me because I'm a Muslim.
Yes. He says that he has to be voted for because we need the Quran and then the Bible in the flagstaff for Ghana to be unified. All right? Yeah. And then we said, no, you were moving into uncharted territory.
Indeed.
So slow down.
Very dangerous.
So MPP, produce your message. So now the tag was messageless MPP. You were not prepared for the election. Give us an alternative, because this government is working, producing results, infrastructure. All right? Like the Circle project is ongoing. Many other infrastructure projects.
Road construction.
And all these things have multiplier effects. So in economics, it is treated under a topic we call national income. Okay. The money cycle and multiplier. If you start an infrastructure project, all right, it goes through a series of well-being processes.
Okay.
All right, both direct and indirect. So at the end of the day, money is created and put in the people's pocket through these investments. Okay. So when the NDC put this thing out and it was becoming clear, the MPP now began going on a promising spree.
One district,
one district, one factory.
Okay.
All right. One dam, one village. I was going to deal with that because you don't have time.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
because you don't have time.
What we need to do, but viewers, of course, Lawyer Edoji took an early exit. He has other equally important programs that he needed to appear on. But this is a text message from Nyanyi Doku from Winneba. He said, is Paul Afoko behind all this? He wants to know if Paul Afoko is behind the African Watch expose. And then there is somebody also said we need to avoid the discussion of the health of Nana Akufo-Addo in politics. I am very happy about that point, because the NDC's campaign strategy is never to focus on that. Like I said, I can't say that Abubibe Kawa ne ofra no offri untumem, Abubibe Kawa no offri untumem, and the Akufo-Addo should not look far if he wants to know the source of this health story. The NDC is not interested in this, absolutely not. But for your own sake, just get a copy of the August 2016 African Watch magazine. Read so you know what this issue is about. As you've noticed, we haven't made it a topic for discussion. We are not interested at all. But it is necessary that our viewers are informed. It has nothing to do with NDC. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be here inshallah next week, Wednesday. So then, enjoy the rest of your night. Bye-bye.